And for me.
And for
And
all of you.
Always Andrea, every one of us. I knew that someone's coming today.
That's right. So today I am here to talk to you about extraordinary love. This talk title came to me. I had been trying to come up with a talk title for Cheryl for several weeks. I knew the theme in February was love, and there were all these things that kept coming to me, but none of them were quite right. And then I got the text message. The text message that said, "You're a grandma." Woo-woo. And I went into meditation that morning after I got that text message. And you're so cute. After I got that text message, and the talk title, Extraordinary Love, came to me. So let's talk about what is extraordinary love. Extraordinary is very unusual or remarkable. And love is an intense feeling of deep satisfaction. So what we're looking for is intense and affection. Oh, so it was affection, not satisfaction, but affection is very satisfying. So anyway, so we have, it's remarkable, which means we want to talk about it. It's so big that we want to talk about it. So I got to thinking, who is it that loves in this way? Like, who can we access? How do we know this love? And so the first thing, of course, that came to me is babies. Now, I would never use a speaking engagement as an opportunity to show off my new granddaughter, but this is my new granddaughter. How could you not? Her name is Oliviana Jean, and we're calling her Ollie. Isn't that adorable? Oh my gosh. So Matt Kahn says that your inner child is the animated voice of your heart. Isn't that the coolest quote ever? And I've thought a lot about that since I heard that, because, you know, the Bible says a little child shall lead them. But what if that little child is our inner child? And what if these are our gurus that we're really supposed to be modeling our lives after and following their lead, right? Yes. So then I got to thinking, well, who else? Who else? And I thought, dogs. Dogs love unconditionally. Now cats are really cool too, but cats are more like humans. They'll like snub you if you make them mad. But dogs, like, for the person that they love, oh my gosh, that is the best person in the world. There's a saying that goes, I want to be the person that my dog thinks I am. Yeah. Right? Because our dogs do love us. And this is my granddaughter again. Not that I would shamelessly show off pictures of my granddaughter, but there she is again, little Ollie, with my grand puppy, Bentley, watching over her. So I wanted to share that. And then...
That's a puppy, and that's a baby.
No, I call her, you know.
You know, your kids are always your kids.
That's right, exactly. So I was thinking, well, who else? Who else has shown me and taught me this kind of love in my life? And I thought, people who have developmental disabilities. I've worked with people who have disabilities for 23 years now. They are my gurus. And when I first started working with them, I wrote this poem, and I'm not going to read it. It's up there, so you might tell me later, oh, you got one of the words wrong. But, but I wanted to convey the feeling of this poem to you. So it's called I Teach Teachers, or The Teacher is a Student is actually the name of the poem. I teach teachers who are born into this world to grow all the lives that they touch. I learn patience. I learn humility. I learn appreciation for all that I have. But most of all, I learn love. They are labeled as disabled, but they are more able than any human being to do God's work. And through their connection with me, I am patient and loving. No, I am patient and humble. I am appreciative and loving. Through our connection, I grow.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Yes. So I wanted to tell you about this guy named Tim. There's a guy named Tim who has Down syndrome, and he lives in New Mexico. And ever since he was a little kid, he told his parents he was going to own a restaurant. And his parents decided they were going to make, his whole family actually works together to make this dream happen for him. And you can YouTube it later. It's about Tim's Place is his restaurant. But Tim comes to work every day and he dances across the parking lot like this because he's so happy to be at work. And he goes to all of his employees and he tells them, "You're doing a great job. You're doing wonderful. You're a good person. I like you." And instead of 5 billion hamburgers, which how many cows die for 5 billion hamburgers sold? He says how many hugs he's given at his restaurant. So when you come into Tim's Place, you get a hug from Tim. And if I ever go anywhere in the vicinity of that restaurant, I am going there. I want a Tim hug. So, and so I also thought, well, who else has this kind of extraordinary love? And the person that came to mind was me. And this is me as a baby, and this is me after the fairies glittered me at the Renaissance Fair. And I was having a great day, but I can see that light came through me from the beginning. But you know, Michael Beckwith says all growth is subtractive. Because in life we get stuff put on us, layers and layers of stuff put on us, and in order to grow, we have to get back to that original person that we were, that person that has the sparkle in their eyes and that sees everyone with love. And so, you know, when I was a kid, I didn't have any friends. My dog was my best friend, and so my dog taught me well how to love. And my whole life, I wanted to be a child counselor or work with kids. I knew that. And babies didn't judge me. They didn't see me as the weird kid. They were just loving and open. And so I learned from babies how to love. And then for 23 years, I've learned from people who have developmental disabilities how to love in this full way that I do. And I don't always do that. I don't always get there. But I can get there. And a lot of the time. And I'm not trying to say that I'm all that in a bag of chips. But I'm all that in a bag of chips. But guess what? Every one of you is all that in a bag of chips.
Woo! That's right.
Every one of you has these access points to God. I was recently at a silent retreat, and there's a musician named Seal. Have you guys heard of Seal? Very wise. It was a documentary called God Is, I believe, and they interviewed him. And he said, they asked him, "What is God?" It might even be "What is God" is the name of the movie. I can't think of it anyway. So they asked him, "What is God?" And he said, "We have access points to God through our children." That he said when he sees his daughter smell a flower and is just really all enveloped by that flower, that he can access God through that experience. And so every one of you has accessed God through these access points, whether it's a baby or your dog or music or going out in nature, climbing a mountain. You have accessed God through these access points that we have to be able to see and feel the truth of who we are. That we are that energy of love. That is who we are and where we come from. One day, I was walking with my friend Andrea at the mall, and this is an example of how this kind of love can change things for people. So, I was walking with my other friend Andrea, sorry, in the mall. We were walking for exercise in the morning. And I was being my playful self, actually. I was like, "Oh, look at this, oh my gosh, that's so cool, ah, look." You know, I was being a little wild. She threatened to get one of those leashes for children for me, and I said, "I want the one with the monkey, please." And I almost got stuck in the tunnel in the children's play area because there weren't any kids, so I decided I could go play. And so I had to belly crawl through the tunnel because I was too tall to fit through the tunnel, because I am no longer a kid, even though I like to pretend like I'm one. So we're power walking along, and all of a sudden I hear somebody say, "Hi." And I stop dead in my tracks. And I look, and there's a man sitting on a bench. His hair is kind of messy, and he doesn't look like he's well taken care of, or he's not taking good care of himself. And I say, "Hi, how are you today?" He says, "Not so good. I've said hi to about 20 people, and every one of them has ignored me and walked on by." I said, "Oh, I'm sorry that happened. I'm so glad I didn't ignore you. I'm so glad I said hi to you." And he said, yeah, I'm just sitting here waiting for the vitamin store to open. It's my birthday today, and I'm just having a really bad day. And I said, oh, I'm so sorry you're having a bad day. Can I give you a hug? My friend Andrea was sitting here with saucers this big. His voice was slurred. It was, some people might have thought he was drunk. I had a different idea about him though. So I gave him a hug, and after I gave him, and my friend Andrea shook his hand. And after I gave him a hug, he said, yeah, I had this brain injury, and ever since then, people just don't treat me the same as they used to treat me. And that is what I was seeing in him, in the slurred voice and some of his mannerisms, was that he seemed like a person who might have had a brain injury. I would not have thought that if I had not been learning from these gurus for 23 years. So that helped me to help him and maybe raise him up just a little bit. Because we are the way that other people can get to those access points with God as well. When I share Reiki with people, the most incredible feeling of love washes over me. And that is how I access God, through Reiki and through nature and through meditation. And I wanted to share a meditation experience with you so that you can hopefully, through the energy I'm going to send into this room, have an access point to God through what I call a chai tea experience. Now, we've all had chai tea experiences with other things, whether it's on top of a mountain or creating music or whatever. But if you would indulge me, I would love for you to close your eyes for a minute and just go into this experience with me. Take a deep breath and get centered and grounded. Imagine you're on your 4th day in silence, and everything is so alive. You're so present in the moment. You're walking slowly, and you go into the kitchen because you feel drawn to have a cup of chai tea, and you boil the water, and you hear the water boiling in the pot, blah, blah, blah. And it sounds so amazing. And then it's like bird song when the tea kettle sings. Whistle. And you pour that hot water, that steaming water, you can feel the steam come off of the kettle as you're pouring into the chai tea. And when the smell wafts up from the cup, it is so tantalizing. It is the most beautiful aroma you have ever smelled. And you sit there just smelling that while you steep your tea bag, breathing the whole time, breathing that tea in, breathing in the light of God, of love. And you can add some honey and almond milk like I did. And you stir it, and you notice that the spoon makes such a beautiful sound. Clink, clink, clink on the side of the cup. You take a sip of that tea, and it's like the warm, like most sweet, loving taste you've ever tasted. And when the teacup is about halfway empty, you can pull out a spoon of that tea and very slowly tip that spoon and let a drop fall into the cup. And if you're having the same experience I had, it's like a slow motion video of a water drop, and you see the tea in the cup splash back up. And the sound tickles your soul and makes you giggle. So I ask you to take one more deep breath of this chai tea experience. And at the end of the out breath, you can open your eyes. Meditation has changed my life. I peeked at my app for meditation this morning. I can tell you I'm about 7 hours away from 1,500 hours in meditation. I'm convinced this is a way to access that love. My meditation teacher who leads these silent retreats that I go to, she said at the last retreat that we all have brain chatter. You know, everybody has brain chatter. Our brains just, that's what brains do, they chatter. And how we can tell if it's the voice of ego or the voice of our higher self, the voice of the love that's pouring through us, is if it's ego chatter, it's resisting something or judging something. And if it's our higher self, it's loving and compassionate and accepting. So use that as a tool as you walk through this world to know, am I being the love, the extraordinary love that I promised myself I would be when I came to this planet? The love that I come from and that pours through me? You can tell that by observing your thoughts. I want to close today with a quote from Matt Kahn. Move with such gentleness throughout your day where it feels as if you're making love to your life.
Yes.
This is the extraordinary love that I hope that you will achieve and know that you are.